Republicans are fed up with Adam Schiff's secret impeachment hearings, and now they're doing something about it. Furious Republican congressmen fought back by storming their way into a closed-door interview with the latest witness. Republicans also hammering Democrats for the total lack of transparency.
Behind those doors, they intend to overturn the results of an American presidential election. What is Adam Schiff trying to hide?
What is happening here is not fair.
There is no reason this should be down in a tiny room, within a skiff at the basement of the Capitol. That's so Adam Schiff can control the narrative, can drive polling, and can get the vote that he wants, which is to impeach the president.
All that is happening while the media eats up the latest talking points, spoon-fed to them by the Democrats. Check out this press endlessly repeating that the testimony from the top diplomat to Ukraine was, quote, devastating and clear evidence of a quid pro quo.
Up ahead, much more on this devastating day for the Trump administration.
It's devastating testimony.
A really devastating piece of evidence.
That's why this testimony today was so devastating.
It's devastating. It's a smoking gun.
Devastating from a national security perspective.
His testimony is devastating.
That sounds like a quid pro quo directed by the president.
Is, in fact, a quid pro quo.
To push for a quid pro quo.
There was, in fact, a quid pro quo.
The very clear quid pro quo. That is a quid pro quo.
Not so fast. Republicans in the room say the diplomat crumbled under questioning, and there was no evidence of a quid pro quo. Juan, don't you think this would just clear everything up if they just did this in open?
Well, but it wouldn't be a legitimate process.
Why not?
Because you don't want to libel somebody. What if somebody says something that's not true or something that isn't part...
You think it would be illegitimate to hold a hearing in public?
No, you didn't ask me that. You said this impeachment inquiry, it's being done right now in private, in other words, to allow people confidentiality to make statements, and then they can be brought forward. By the way, quid pro quo, how can you not? Did you read what Bill Taylor said? Bill Taylor, who's a West Point grad who served in Vietnam, a Bush appointee, ambassador in places like Afghanistan, Ukraine. You think he's a liar?
I read his opening statement, but what we didn't hear is him under cross-examination, and that's what I think, Greg, everybody wants to know.
But
if you're going to make an allegation,
right?
Juan, there is no evidence of a quid pro quo. And guess what? We can't even prove that because you don't even have any people asking questions in public.
But here's his statement. You can read it, Jesse, in the statement.
Okay, anybody can make a statement, and then anybody can fail to answer a follow-up question, which apparently he did.
You think Taylor's a liar, and I
don't know what he is, Juan, but I know I don't know. And you don't either.
Yeah, but the press. So
let's get it around.
The press is.
I know that they're calling people in secret, and the Democrats are leaking it to the Washington Post.
I know. I can read for myself.
You, as a journalist, should be ashamed that they're doing this behind closed doors.
I am proud that the press of the United States of America can report on a legitimate, distinguished diplomat's statement.
It's all leaks, Juan, and you know.
I think the thing is, the problem with the secret testimony is that nobody should believe it. Because right off the bat, it stinks. And here's the way I look at it. All you need to know is you've got to ask yourself a question. You have historically low unemployment. You got 6.4 million new jobs, a booming economy. So far, you have peace, and it's contagious, Juan. I'm sorry. So what is the establishment loser response? A secret, anonymously driven coup, which is egged on by the media. That, to your point, that is the thing that I don't understand. There's only one explanation for this. Because of the results of Trump's White House so far, they realize they can't beat him, so they need to eliminate him. So what they're doing is they're willing to divide and create division among a country as a political weapon to solve their political humiliation. I have one question for libertarians, for leftists, true leftists, and pacifists. You now have a president whose primary goal is not spilling any more blood anywhere. Where are you? This is like the most progressive foreign policy I've seen in my life. But you're going to let the New York Times, you're going to let Hillary Clinton, you're going to let CNN and Adam Schiff basically replace him with a Hillary pod because they don't like him after what he's doing? That's pretty freaking crazy.
Dana, what do you think about this? You know, the Washington Post likes to say, democracy dies in the darkness.
I think that arguing for transparency, it usually is your best argument, especially with the media, because we revere the First Amendment. Right, so the transparency thing is good. The stunt today of going down, the president said, I want the Republicans to get tougher. So that, and they'll win the news cycle on that today. Like, they'll be able to drive the news. But when the majority, the House Democrats, have the gavel, they're not affected by the transparency argument. They just keep rolling down until they see something in their polling or in their focus groups or the pressure from their constituents gets to a fever pitch on transparency. They're probably not going to change it. The other thing is, I feel like the goalposts from both sides are moving so much that even if there was to say, like, there was a quid pro quo, I'm pretty sure everyone would be like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
And
because that's what people do, Dana, correct?
What?
Well, it's like, I want you to check out your corruption before we give you all this money. That's what his job is.
Greg,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But Greg, that's not the quid pro quo here was something for the president. Something of value, dirt on his political opponent.
No,
it wasn't
corruption.
For us, the
no.
American
You got to look
people.
at. He was talking about corruption.
States.
2016 corruption. Look into it. I'm sorry.
No. Joe Biden.
Also, Juan, there is no quid pro quo because the Ukrainians didn't even know that any of the money was being withheld.
That's not
Dr.
true.
Sapphire, I want to play some
papers.
sound from the Republicans on this, and you can react.
The mainstream media reporting that he provided evidence of a quid pro quo involving military aid is false. Neither he or any other witness has provided testimony that the Ukrainians were aware that military aid was being withheld. You can't have a quid pro quo with no quo.
The truth is that in 2 minutes, John Ratcliffe destroyed this witness. There's no quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo. Dr. Sapphire.
You know, I find it interesting because, you know, reading through the timeline, they had the conversation, the phone conversation, Trump and Zelensky in July, and there's reports that the White House was holding back these fundings. The funds themselves weren't actually going to be used until September, October, unless Zelensky made some public declaration, which, by the way, never actually happened, yet the funds did go there. So, you know, I have a lot of questions when it comes to the quid pro quo, you know, and unfortunately, the lack of transparency, my questions aren't being answered. Adam Schiff is running such a tight ship with the closed-door policy here, yet he's allowing the leaks. He's allowing this narrative to build up full of, like, inflated verbiage, and I just think it continues to divide the country, and that just seems to be their #1 goal right now is massive division for 2020 election, and I'm tired of all this posturing just for election purposes.
Yeah, I think that, Juan, after a while, if you're going to continue to do this in the dark, in secret, so the country can't know why the president is being impeached, people are going to be fed up with it. I think this is going to do long-term damage here.
Oh, let me get this straight. You don't know why the president's being impeached?
You can't have any evidence, even seen by Republicans. They can't even see transcripts.
Excuse me.
They're actually threatening to withhold checks from people that are testifying.
You don't know why the president's being impeached?
You want to see the full evidence. Why do you want to listen to witness testimony?
That's the legitimate
It's a process.
That's the legitimate constitutional process that they would hold an inquiry.
You think it's legitimate to do it behind closed doors?
They are absolutely.
You think this is legitimate, one?
I just told you I do. And the second thing to tell you is that it will come out, and then you'll say, oh, my gosh, why are they presenting it this way? This is unfair to the president.
When will it come out, Juan?
It's going to come out in a month or so, but certainly. But let me just say this. It's the Senate that should be worrying you, Jesse, because right now we see reporting that says, I think there's a Daily Caller, somebody, did a poll of all the people in the Senate. Forget the poll of the American people who think this is legitimate. There were only 7 senators who said they're not open to the inquiry, impeaching, and removing the president.
Do I look worried?
Yeah, I don't think it's at the point where
Dana,
most Republicans in the Senate
Where do you see this going?
Well, Schiff will continue to call these witnesses, because everything is so polarized. Each side thinks that they're winning. And there are Republicans who think that absolutely you impeach Donald Trump. Now, that impeachment does not mean that he's not going to be president anymore. Clinton was impeached, and his polling numbers went up. His popularity went up. If he probably had a chance to run for a 3rd term, who knows what would have happened. Although, I don't know. I'm not saying that he should have run for a 3rd time. But there are Republicans who truly believe this is helping him. Then there are Democrats who think that they have to do this in order to try to fight back against their base, who is frustrated because they want to say, how are you holding the president accountable? In the meantime, it's actually kind of interesting. There's reporting today that Pelosi's team and the Trump White House are still working on their plan, as whatever you think about the lowering of the drug prices, at least their policy proposal, which I don't think is a great prescription, but they're still moving forward on that. And the trade deal, the USMCA, apparently is still on track as well. So maybe it's possible that they could actually still get things done and continue with impeachment.
Are you talking about walking and chewing gum at the same time?
That's a great cliche.
It's a great analogy. I can't believe I thought of it. Is Crooked Hillary about to make a comeback? How close Clinton is to a 2020 rematch with Trump? Up next.